We're having this discussion today because there is a possibility that there might be an interference with your pituitary gland. The reason that we're thinking this is when we did the visual field on you. We may remember the visual field where the assistant had you look into an instrument and she'd bring a device, there was a dot at the end of a little wand, and you were telling the assistant when you first saw that. That gave us an indication that there may be a problem. What was the indication? The problem was the blind spots. Remember, the blind spots are off to the edge of the eye. That's where the optic nerve enters the back of your eye. Well, because of the unique design that God created in how your eyes work, where the nerves come and cross each other as they come into the eye, right at the point where the nerves coming from the brain as they cross each other like this, right underneath it is where the pituitary gland sits. Now, if the pituitary gland has any kind of tumor, any kind of swelling, I don't know if you realize this or not, but there's no room in the brain. Every single part of the brain is connected to the other. There's no clear airspace or anything like that in there. So when that pituitary gland is right underneath where the optic nerves go, if it swells, it pushes against the optic nerve. And when it pushes against the optic nerve, what it does is it crimps it, and then we can see as it's crimping the optic nerve, we can tell that there's something squishing your optic nerve, and it shows up in your visual field. Now, it's very characteristic, and it's when it's out on the edge of the blind spot, not in the middle, and when it's out there, that's an indication, because of the unique crossing of the optic nerves and where the pituitary is, that we can pinpoint exactly where the swelling might be. There may be some good news in this, is that it could be a false reading. The other good news is they have something called an empty sulcus. This happened to one of my assistants in the office when we found the same type of shape in her visual field that we're finding in your visual field. Well, that's benign, it's not going to be a problem. However, if it is not, then there's something that needs to be done. We'll be referring to your primary care physician to set up an MRI where we can take a closer look at the brain and the structures in there. Now, that's going to be up to him, so I'll send a report to him to get that done for you. Now, how important is this? Well, to give you one example, because we did this particular test, we found that when we referred this one patient, the neurologist said to the patient, that optometrist saved your life because we were able to come in time and do this and do the surgery for it and remove that tumor. So therefore, this can be very helpful. And we actually did have a 26-year-old guy that apparently an optometrist in Tracy missed this. And by the time we saw it, we found it, but it was too late. And so therefore, it really does need some attention. What I'm hoping, though, is that all that's going on here is maybe if you've been in some kind of accident where you've had a blow to the head, and it just happened just exactly right to hit that portion of your visual field. Because as I mentioned to you earlier, it's when the outer edge of the blind spot is enlarged. That's where it is. So we will send a referral right off and have sent a referral off to your primary care physician with a report for him, and you actually have the same report enclosed. And then your primary care physician will be getting back to us and let us knowing the results, and what we're hoping is that it's going to be okay.